Public hearing on tab E. Public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Do you have any question? No?
Question?
Madam Clerk?
We have a motion to approve the item made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Councilman Desilme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The item passes 5-0. Tab F, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the evaluation committee's results and the selection of Sapoznik Insurance and Associates LLC for employee benefit programs agent of record services in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in RFP number 35-18-19, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Once again, for the record, Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director. Mr. Mayor, council members, the item that you have before you under tab F represents the results of the evaluation committee review and recommendation to this council of the highest ranked firm, Sapoznik Insurance and Associates LLC, to serve as the agent of record for the city's employee benefits program. This was done in response to solicitation titled RFP number 351819. In response to this solicitation, the city received 7 proposals. One of these proposals was deemed to be non-responsive, and the remaining 6 proposals were then forwarded to the evaluation committee for their review and evaluation. Based on the committee's review of the qualifications and experience of each applicant, Sapoznik has been ranked as the highest firm and recommended by the committee for award of this contract. The final scores and ranking for each firm, as well as a tabulation of each committee member's score for each applicant, is included as part of your council report package. The term for this contract shall be for an initial 3-year period with 3 additional 1-year options to renew. The actual fee for this contract shall be finalized and negotiated with the awarded firm, but in no case shall it exceed 3% of the total annual premiums. Here with me tonight in support of this item is the city's risk management director, Ms. Karen Muir, who is primarily responsible for the administration of this contract. Also present in the audience are representatives from the recommended firm, Sapoznik. This concludes my presentation of this item. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Thank you very much, Purchasing Director. And now we are going to open public hearing on the item. Also, we're gonna allow other firms that wish to speak on the item. If they wish to speak, I will allow them 5 minutes to speak.
5 minutes.
If they have from the group.
Is this part of public hearing?
Good
Yes.
evening.
Just,
A
I'm
part
sorry,
of public hearing,
oh, okay.
yes.
Good evening, Mayor Bien-Aimé, Vice Mayor Carol Keys, council members, Dr. Alex Desilme, Mary Estime Irving, and Councilman Scott Galvin. My name is Mike Gellin, President of the Gellin Benefits Group, an insurance advisory brokerage and consulting firm. We were one of the respondents to this RFP, and our firm came in ranked 3rd. We are the only local North Miami firm that bid on this contract. We also partner with another local North Miami business called Vessel Design, Inc. To bid on this contract. So in accordance with your local business preference program, this is an opportunity for this city to reinvest in the city by working with the Gellin Benefits Group. We have a great deal of respect for Sapoznik Insurance Services. I've known of Rachel Sapoznik for a very long time. She started the firm out of her home and grew to a very large organization. And she has a great reputation in the industry, both in the public and the private sector. But when it comes to public sector business, there has to be a benefit to the community. And when an organization has been with a city for as long as 17 years, there is a inherent advantage that the incumbent has. And some of that was reflected in the scores and in the commentary, especially when you look at the qualifications and experience and the comments in that section. A lot of credit was given to them for being here for 17 years and having the contract for a long time. but that wasn't part of the criteria. The selection committee was to look at the overall qualifications and experience of the competing firms. And we believe we have some of the best experience and qualifications. Some of the firms we work with are many times larger than the city of North Miami, including the city of Miramar, Broward County Government, Broward Sheriff's Office, and many others. Some of the comments that came back, I felt like there was some criticism in terms of our firm being small. If our firm was too small, we would not be able to service Broward Sheriff's Office with 5,500 employees, Broward County Government with 6,000 employees, City of Miramar with 1,200 employees. So we can do this. And what we're asking for is for this commission or this council to make a decision to invest in the city of North Miami by working with the Gellin Benefits Group. Again, we have a great deal of respect for Sepazic Insurance, but 17 years with the same city, it may be time to have a fresh set of eyes, new ideas, a new perspective into developing strategies to benefit the city of North Miami. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I'll wait to hear more.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is open. Any constituent, any resident?
Good evening. My name is Alan Flores, and I'm with Foundation Risk Partners. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Our firm came in second place in the RFP for employee benefit services by less than 0.2%, and we were the least expensive by $30,000. Please let me first applaud your staff for a process that was well done. Even though I'm respectfully asking that the City Council consider rejecting the recommendation and ask for a rebid, I read each evaluator's notes, I analyzed their scoring, and having been involved in my career in over 100 municipal insurance bid processes, I am confident the process was fair. I do believe, though, you have an opportunity to improve this process by focusing on how to reduce the approximately $5 million annually that you spend. And I think that needs to be the focal point. During our interview, we were asked several questions, but they were focused on service, rightfully so. You need to know that we have adequate services. But there was not enough time for a back and forth dialogue about strategies to reduce the cost of your insurance program. The committee acted in very good faith by having 6 respondents come into the interview, but perhaps a process that chooses a couple to 3 finalists and allows more time to focus on technical aspects and strategies would yield a better result. If this were done, the following questions could have been asked, explored, and a meaningful dialogue could have taken place. For example, will the Florida League of Cities pool be a viable option for the city? Will they assist, as they have with other cities, with the wellness program and assistance in setting up a clinic? Can all brokers access them? Should we self-insure? What is your experience with that? How can we do it in North Miami? Now that House Bill 19 passed, how can our city take advantage of Canadian importation of prescription drugs? How can we make access to healthcare more localized for our employees? Can we partner with local hospitals to reduce what procedures cost for your employees? What do our claims tell us? What is driving the premium? Is it hospital stays? Is it emergency room stays? Is it prescription drugs? In fact, during the Q&A process, we asked to get data on this exact question, and were told it was not available. It made us wonder, have there been models and analytics completed on these programs and presented to city staff over the last several years? Now is your chance to look in to dig into those questions. And if they were looked at, can they be looked at with other firms with their ideas on how to do this? Imagine if you reconvene the state's best brokers to come back and compete on those questions and provide sufficient time to have a thoughtful exchange. You will get a powerful result. A result exclusively focused on a 3-year strategy to reduce costs and take advantage of innovation instead of having another 18 years of the same fully insured program. You're big enough. You have the resources for it. Maybe fully insured is right for you, but given recent innovations and regulatory freedoms, it's time that the city, with the size and resources of North Miami, explore more. I believe that while entirely fair and honest, this process could deliver far better long-term results for you if you were to reject this RFP and instruct staff to reissue it with more focus dedicated to premium costs. In conclusion, I ask that you consider this and take advantage of the opportunity to get the very best from all of us. And ask the most important questions. How will you reduce our premium? What is your experience in these programs? And how are you able to execute what you're saying you can do? I hope you will consider rejecting this RFP and quickly starting over so that the process can be perfected to deliver the best results for you. Whatever you decide, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to participate in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing still open on the item.
Good evening, this is Rachel Sapozniks. Thank you, Mike, for your compliments. I appreciate that. So I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss our successes with the City of North Miami and the top reasons why we were considered. And I think that this is really the key. Sapoznik Insurance does believe in cost containment, but we also believe and understand how important employees are to the City of North Miami. The City of North Miami's vibrant lifestyle diversity is created by the employees that work here. So while cost containment is extremely important, we also have to have access of good health care for our employees. And over the last 17 years, I'm very proud of the success that we've been able to achieve balancing both of them. Top reason Sapoznik was awarded the RFP. Total average premium for medical insurance is 37.2% below the national average. Total average annual employee dependent costs for payroll deductions, because the employees pay also, and we have to be conscious of how it impacts them, is 61.5% below the national average. Total annual North Miami employer cost, 29.5% below the national average. As payroll deductions have been reduced for all tiers this year in 2019, the employees of North Miami not only had a plan improvement because we went into a national program, but each employee that only covers themselves had a savings of their payroll deductions of $520. Employee spouses or employees that had a partner had a savings of their payroll deductions of $2,073. Employees that cover their children, which is so significant. And this was a big push by not only the city manager, but also the entire HR department wanted to help save money for the employees that have their children covered. We saved close to $1,400 in payroll deductions. And families saw a reduction in their payroll deductions of $3,047. That is significant. Their plans were improved, the city saved money, and the employees saved money. Not only that, we've also implemented some of the top technology. We've got the very robust HIRS system that not only includes online enrollment, but we also have one-on-one. So while technology is important and we believe in technology, we also understand the human component of understanding the benefits. It's one of the largest items that we spend on for our employees, and it is very important for employees to understand their benefits. So technology was included. That's my time, but as a 17...
No, if you need more
It's okay.
time, you have 5
Okay.
minutes as...
Thank you. As a, I believe we're entering our 19th year. Not only are we local, born and raised here, I'm native, I went to public school here. We give back to the community. The community is extremely important to us. I sit on the Education Fund Board. I work with many of the different organizations here as fundraising, as being part of the organization. We've adopted the school of North Miami Elementary School, which we provide services for them. And it is not just numbers. And that's what we have to understand when it comes to employees. Employees are not a number. They are human beings that have children, that have families, that sometimes have illnesses, and those illnesses need to be addressed, and they need to have the best care out there. We have been able to provide the best care with the best programs and contain the cost for the city. I'm very proud of what we've done, Andrew's very proud, and thank you for this opportunity to be here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing still open on the item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. I'm a little uncomfortable that people are repitching their applications, their RFP. If we don't trust the management, his committees, the risk manager, who's one of the best in this state, to go through the proper process and screening. And if we're gonna keep throwing, as one of the applicants said, throw it out and start over again until I win, that's not the way we do things. Are you gonna do it with every single contract that we have going on in this city? This isn't the processes that we've been using for many years. You have an RFP. It keeps the politics out of it. If you hire you throw it back out, then it gives the lobbyists and everybody else a chance to come back and try to sway you all to vote for something that isn't quite right. I think you should take the city's recommendation or the administration's recommendation. Committee members had the ability to interview, ask questions, dig into the details. Don't fall for the last pitch to throw things out because it didn't go to the certain firms that people want. If the winning bid won because they scored higher, then that's the way it should be. Thank you very much.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I very much respect what former Mayor Kevin Burns just brought up, but I was thinking on a slightly different tack, and I don't mean to throw sort of a monkey wrench into the process, but quite often our very capable purchasing department and such probably has certain regulations and restrictions, and they do it very much above the board, and things are level, and everybody gets the information, and they submit their bid, a flat submission of a bid for the most part. In some of the purchasing that I've had to do over the years, let me take an example of mirrors, plates of mirrors for walls. I don't just call up 10 places and say, what's your best price? I call up the first one, which is probably far away. I get an idea of what the price is. I call the next place a little closer and say, can you beat this? Can you beat this? It keeps on going down. Can you beat this? It truly gives that company, rather than going, how much can I get? How much profit can I make? It truly gets them down to where they could be. And that process, time and time again, has gotten not a 5% discount, but 1/5 the cost in many cases. 1/5 the cost of some people that just threw out any bid. I'm not saying any of these people, which seem very capable and probably have very sharp pens and sharp submissions, have done that. But I do believe that once they know what the playing field is, I think the pencil is sharpened for the second round. Again, I don't mean to belabor this if this is time is of the essence or some other critical matters, but if there was time and this was put out there, maybe everybody, and we may have the same winners, but I have a feeling it would be at a possibly more competitive price, which would benefit the city. So it's just something to consider. I've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars on one project alone on that method and got the same results. So just throwing it up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item.
Jessica Alston, good evening, Council. 1140 Northwest 125 Street in Sunkist Grove. I just want to say I appreciate this process. I want to thank those bidders who are here who came to speak about your bid. I want you to know, as a resident of the city of North Miami, it's very much appreciated. I think there's room for checks and balances, especially since we went awry in the last years, being over $8 million in the hole. And I think that this kind of feedback is appropriate, and I would like to see more of it. Thank you.
Public hearing still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation of Sapoznik Insurance.
And before we move with the motion, I would like to point out a few things. And Councilman Scott, on Chapter 7, Division 2, talking about the procurement of our code, the code of the city. It just, I'm gonna read it. It's me. I just wanna read that. It's not. It's on a code. He said that after reviewing the city manager's recommendation, the city council may A, approve the city manager's recommendation and authorize the contract or contract negotiation. B, reject all proposal. Or C, reject all proposal and instruct the manager of the purchasing department to reissue a solicitation. Those are in our code. That's when it's not based. By doing so, it's not like we are listening to anybody who just did a presentation. Tonight, this is what the code say that we as council member can do when it comes to approve or reject the recommendation of the administration, the committee, and the city manager. When it comes to reward a bid, he said the reward need to be consistent with the provisions of Section 7-129. And he said an award shall be made to the responsible offerer whose proposal conforms to the solicitation and is determined in writing to be the most advantageous to the city, taking into consideration price and evaluation factors set forth in the request for proposal. No other factors or criteria shall be used in the evaluation. And I read some of the recommendation. It seems like, we bypass those recommendations. Those codes stated that the only factors that need to be used is whatever was set in the solicitation. That's been nice up to the council to decide
Could you read
exactly what we want to do.
Could you reread that last paragraph with the factors for everybody? Just
The last one stated a criteria should be used in the evaluation. The contract file shall contain the basis on which the award is made. What part do you want me to read for you?
the part where the factors were the cost and other factors in the bid.
There's a lot of factors
So she's
that need to
talking,
be with it. Huh?
talking about G.
She's talking about G.
Mm-hmm, right where you, to start back there.
I read G already, no?
I just wanted you to repeat it.
Award consistent with the provision of Section 7-129.
No, it was the last thing you read.
That's what he's going
After reviewing the C. Oh, B, C, and keep going until I get where you are. Can you read it? I don't see where you are.
I believe what you're
Can-
talking about, Vice Mayor Keys, is where it says, consistent with the provisions of Section 7-129,
29.
an award shall be made to the responsible offerer whose proposal conforms to the solicitation and is determined in writing to be the most advantageous to the city, taking into consideration price and the evaluation factors set forth in the request for
Good.
proposals.
Thank you.
Okay. Now on the dice.
Restate my motion to approve Saposnick Insurance as recommended by the committee and staff.
With second for discussion.
Second for discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, through the mayor, Mr. Attorney, so the only way to do other than accept, Saposnick would be to completely reject the bid?
The only
Is that
way to what?
To, I mean, we're
Okay.
here, we're obligated to accept the committee's ranking number one. We can't say we want 5, we want 3, we want 4. We have to do that. And the only alternative would be to throw out the bid and start again. Is that correct?
Right.
For
You
the-
have
for the
three
public, so
things that
The
you
mayor,
can do.
the mayor is correct. Section 7-138G2 lays out the 3 things that you can do. Once you receive the manager's recommendation, and that's either approve the solicitation recommendation, reject all proposals, or reject all proposals and instruct the manager to put out a reissue a new solicitation.
So through the mayor again to the manager, did you recommend this? I mean, I'm reading it. It says staff recommended it.
Because before he said, the director of the purchasing department create the committee, make the recommendation.
I sign
At the end of the day, you sign on it.
Correct.
That's when you approve it.
Correct.
In a way. Okay.
So, Mr. Manager, are you comfortable with the bid, that everything was done properly? And, I mean, from what I hear, the committee reviewed everything properly?
Absolutely. Given the history around this item and the issue that had at last year, we made some alterations to our committee structure. We had an outside member. Once the item was presented to me, I myself reviewed all of the comments, looked at the scoring to make sure everything seemed, normal. And after that review, I approved for the purchasing director to move forward with the.
Is through the mayor, to the manager, is there any reason that you would recommend to us that we should go for a rebid, that there would be something much more advantageous? I mean, I think there's a lot more than price involved. It is service and those items in the RFP, but are you comfortable?
Madam Vice Mayor, just a quick question. After we put together the committee and the committee make its recommendation, if it's under 25,000, the city manager have the power to negotiate and decide it. But if it's over 25,000, he have to bring it
Right.
before us. That means cannot, after the recommendation, he cannot make no other recommendation and recommend that you
You c-
reject that. You need to submit it to us.
So,
and
so I
we
can't get, I
decided.
can't get our manager's opinion,
Yes, you
Of-
can get this.
or Mr. Roglieri, Distrata, excuse me, whether going out would get us a better outcome. I mean, do we just keep putting this out and get, I mean, if we go out, maybe we'll get some better terms, but is this something that's advisable?
I mean, you guys know the history on this item. I pushed hard for it last year because I had concerns about pricing and where we were. I would submit to you, I worked very hard and saved the city a lot of money this year. We went through the RFP, as you guys recommended, for the new year, and the outcome is the outcome at this point. I mean, could we yield more savings? I don't know. I think in the past, we've gone through this process. Sometimes we've been lucky, and we have, and there's been times where we got the same bid, the bid result. So it's hard to say.
Okay, last question through the mayor to, our attorney. What are termination clauses if we're not happy with service? And do we have termination clauses? I mean, 'cause this is a 3-year
30 days.
This is a 3-year contract.
I don't have the contract.
You're talking about the
in front of me.
previous one
The
or
last
that
one was
one?
30
This,
days.
the one we're getting ready to enter into another 3-year contract.
Right. Vice Mayor Keys, the standard or typical language is 30 days to terminate the contract. But there is always a provision for the city to terminate for, you know, non-performance, breach of contract, failure to perform, or, you know, myriad of issues. So
What you're asking us is to reward the a contract tonight?
well, what the vice mayor, I believe, was asking was about potentially termination clauses in general in our contracts, and
Or in every,
just
all,
in general,
all contracts,
you know,
okay,
so-
okay.
Thank you.
Now, Madam Council Member, Mary.
I have some questions for the record. Like I was a resident at the time, a simple resident, and I know that there was a lot of concern with the price cut. Now, there was a, can you tell me what was the price in 2000, what it was the cost in 2016, 17, 18?
yes, Councilwoman, this particular contract and the fees or commission associated with it has gone down from roughly in the neighborhood of almost $250,000 to what you have before you right now, which is a ceiling of $150,000. And I should add, by the way, that the proposal by the firm is for a 3% commission, but that's not a final fixed rate. And I'm sure that they understand that this is subject to finalizing, and we have to execute a contract and subject to potentially further reductions. So we potentially, through the efforts of the administration led by the city manager, this contract is potentially a savings to the city of approximately $100,000 in probably the last year and a half or so.
And why was that dramatically, I mean, we went from what to what? Can you give me figures?
Roughly, we went from about a little bit over 3.5%.
Can I have dollar figures, please, not percentage?
Well, it's roughly based on annual premiums, the total annual premiums, which are roughly around $5 million in annual premiums. The commission is based on those premiums. That's what the compensation is based on. So roughly, I think there were perhaps a little bit over that. And now what their proposal is 3% of the annual premiums.
So let me try to redirect my question.
How many
I'm trying
percent?
to
How many percent was it before?
Before, again, it was in the neighborhood roughly between, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, about 3.5% to 4% roughly over the last 2 or 3 years. But remember, we were working under an old contract. So essentially what we had last year was when we came before this council, the council actually rejected the recommendation of the committee last year for this same contract. And what we entered into was negotiations with the incumbent at that time. And again, led by the city manager, we were able to procure a significant reduction from the previous year's rate. Now what you have before you, the rate is 3% of roughly $5 million in premiums, which represents approximately about $150,000 in the premiums.
So, what I'm asking is, my understanding is that there had been a dramatic change in price, about $100,000 after the city manager had kind of was seeking for some savings for our city.
That's correct.
And I'm happy for that, but I'm glad for the saving, but it was so dramatic. I'm like, why didn't we have that savings before? Sure, if you would go ahead and do that.
Wait a minute, wait.
You have to be in the
Well,
mic.
No. Oh, you want them to
Yeah,
staff or? No,
No,
we're gonna no.
well,
Please, no, not yet. Please, have a seat. We're gonna come. Yes. Would you
right.
ask the
So
you
here's my concern is, and one of the resident kind of stated it well, is we currently have a deficit in our city, and I'm definitely for getting the best ultimate price possible and all of the savings that we can have. Apparently, you had this contract for so many years, and not until the city manager said something or looking for changes, and all of a sudden we had a dramatic change in price. So I want to make sure that we are as competitive as we can be, and that's what I'm trying to get, and or trying to get a understanding. And I'll defer to the mayor whenever he allows an explanation.
You want
That's
her to?
fine.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. It's a very good question. I think it's so important to understand. There are two components that drive cost. It's your claims and it's your administrative fees. And over the past 17 years, we have put in a very aggressive wellness program, to the extent where the city of North Miami has now been nominated for Healthiest Employer for the last 2 years. And we have a team that comes here. What does that mean? That means that as the employees get healthier, and that's what's been happening, the employees here have been getting healthier. We look at your claims on a quarterly basis. We actually sit with staff and we find out how many diabetics do you have? How many people that are having high blood pressure? How many people have cholesterol issues? We do biometric screenings for the employees. We then get the results of that biometric screening. With those results, we then put the wellness programs together. It takes 5 years to start to see the impact of that, and we are seeing the impact. So last year, and over the last several years, every year incrementally, you have had a rate reduction. Our commissions work on a percentage. So if we're working at 3 or 3.5%, but the premiums are coming down, our compensation comes down. So when you look again at this year, we had an unbelievable year. Our claims have come down substantially to the point where every single insurance company, because we go out to bid to everyone, our loyalty is not to the carrier. Our loyalty is to the city. And we not only look at fully insured, we also look at self-insured. We look at all the different funding mechanisms. And there's a lot of new things that are going to be coming in the market that I was explaining to staff when the presentation was set up. And there's things called value-based pricing, reference-based pricing. That's the future. But in order to understand the best program for the city, we have to understand claims. And that is what's driving the reduction. So to answer your question, the reason the compensation came down so dramatically is because the premium came down. Why did the premium come down? Because we have been working with staff. We have been working with the different departments. I have a wellness department. So with my 3%, I am paying for a wellness department for the city of North Miami. They come here on a weekly basis working with your employees to get them healthy. The healthier we get them, and that's our goal, the lower your claims. The lower your claims, the lower the premium, the lower the premium, the lower my compensation is. And that's how we have structured it over the years.
So I get that, but my question, my concern is that not until it was mentioned that all of a sudden now this was reviewed, at least that's the appearance.
Well,
because
it's not.
prior
Yeah.
to that, had the premiums gone down?
Yes. They've been going down for the last several years, as a matter of fact, and we have the numbers. I'd be happy to show them with you. We have had the numbers coming down on the premiums over the last several years.
Okay, and I'd like.
Thank you very much.
We have them here if you want to take a look at it.
Are you done with?
Yes, I'm done with
Saposnik?
her, and I just.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Please be seated. Okay. Do you have another question?
No.
You all set?
No, is there anything that
No.
you'd like to add, Mr. Manager? I just wanted to.
We're
Okay.
gonna wait.
No,
When
I'm done.
Because there is something that was said, and I want a clarification. You wanna talk? You wanna go first?
No, go ahead. I'll go after you.
No, just a clarification, because when I'm looking at my budget, premium didn't go down. That's mean your commission went down. Can you answer that for me? What was the premium on the
This-
policy for the past
So our premium went down this fiscal year.
this year?
This year.
Okay,
So
but
you're,
before
so when we budgeted for it, and maybe it's better for me to explain this process.
no, let's say on the
Okay.
premium.
Well,
We'll-
the premium, I did significant work in negotiating, working with staff, and we realized a significant savings in premiums
Okay.
over what we budgeted in this year. So we're actually saving money over what was put in the budget. Based on the projections I've gotten in the past, we've often been told we're going to be 10% higher than the prior year and prior year. That's been the trend, not just with us, but with everyone. Probably going back to when Arthur was manager, I started taking a hard look at actuarials, experience, and stuff, and pushing the vendor to do more in the way of identifying savings, looking at restructuring of a plan, a lot of things that were not being done prior to me being here. So, you know.
Okay,
So we realized.
if I understand, like in 2016, what was the rate? What was the commission rate on the premium? It was 4%.
Roughly 200, 250, I think, somewhere around there.
Okay, and we were able to save $100,000.
Since then, we've been able to save almost $100,000 in that
on commission.
on commission.
But what about the premium?
Also on the premium.
Total.
Yes.
Total of 100,000 between
Well, no.
premium.
The premium, I got to look at last year's. This
Okay.
year, we're around, I think we're around $600,000 savings.
Saving.
Yeah.
That's mean a total of $700,000
Correct.
from 16 to now in
Right.
saving between premium. Because what we need to understand is the policy, it's a $5 million policy, and they do receive commission based on that premium. And before they used to charge 4.5% commission, right? What was the
I believe so, Mr. Mayor.
okay?
That's my
And-
understanding.
Okay, it was 4.5% commission, and now in the new proposal, how much it is?
3%.
Now
That's
it's
what they are proposing is 3%.
It's 3%.
That's
That's
what
when
they're
the previous year we were able to save 100,000, and this year another $50,000. Maybe if we continue to negotiate, we can save some money again. And one of the most important thing for the city is not just the commission, is the premium. If we can get the same benefits or more benefits for less premium, the city is not only saving money on the commission, but we are saving money on the premium, adding both together. Is it correct?
That is correct. We save money on the premium, so we save operating dollars, so in essence, taxpayer dollars. But this year, we also realized a savings to the employees as well. We were able to provide single coverage for free, which we haven't been able to do in some time.
Due
So
to the negotiation.
with the insurance company, yes.
Okay. You have a question? Go ahead.
Do I have the floor, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Given the history of this item, I don't know where the council will be going tonight, but I just have some few questions in listening. First and foremost, I did not expect the folks to come up and give us a speak of their proposal. I don't want to politicize. I do not want to be on the committee. I don't want to be, that's not the point, but I do have some
You said you wanna-
recommendation. Mr. Mayor, let me finish, please. I do have some recommendation. However, if you and I, we've never spoken about this particular item until today, and I did send staff an email reviewing some points. And the only reason that I did that, when I heard that this item was up on the agenda, the first thing that I did was the issue that we had that got us here last time. So in doing that, I think I will be a little bit biased if I was in the committee, because I do know of one particular company and work with them, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm glad I wasn't on the committee. However, up in reviewing the evaluation sheets from the committee, and this is me personally, I did personally feel that there was a little bit tilted. Not to say anything that it wasn't done, what's the right word? It wasn't properly. That's not what I'm saying. I felt that it wasn't, I would have done in a different direction. I would have suggest that no one from staff, giving the history of this item, no one from staff be on that committee. You get outside folks They give us a recommendation, we move forward from there because, and I don't know if that's even legal, if that's part of the thing, Mr. Attorney, but my concern was that upon reviewing the particular item was the one-by-one staff comment in relating to some of the point. It wasn't dramatic as prior, but I have my own, I would have preferred to see it, so I do feel a little bit not okay 100% because of that. So I don't know how we remedy that, how we fix that. Because we have to be fair at this particular point, not only to the process, to where we are right now. So however that the council wants to go, but I just wanted to share my concern on this particular item, which I share with you prior to the meeting before. Those are my particular concern regarding this, relating to this particular item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And like we said before, we can decide it on whether we choose A, B, or C. And I don't think tonight we have any problem with Saposnik or any other companies. All we try to do is to seek for the best interest of the city and see if we can save more money. I think that will be the best try. If we can we save more and more and more again.
Mr.
Or you have a,
No, I have a motion with a second that's on the table.
Yes,
I'd like
yes,
to
yes.
have a vote
Okay.
on that so we don't
Yes.
go on here all
No,
night.
it's for discussion now. Madam Clerk, there is a motion, and I think there is a second for discussion.
Yes.
And please,
Are we?
I call the question on my motion on the table.
I would like to make a friendly amendment if, unless you want.
no, she
Oh.
she
Go ahead.
she did a
Oh, you did the second already?
yeah,
did the
she
second.
second already.
Okay.
There is a motion to approve tab F made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
I didn't hear.
Nay.
The item fails 3-2.
Can I make another motion on the item? Yes. Since it failed, can we reject it and ask the city manager to reissue a bid on the item, please? That's my motion.
Second for discussion.
For discussion.
All right, guys, here's where the old man in the room is going to come out of me, and I'm sorry this is the way I have to keep doing it because I've seen this happen so many
Yeah.
times. When we do this to a company or companies who've gone through the process, through the procedures, we have rules, we have guidelines. If you were just thrown out, why the heck would you put back in? You're not going to reapply, or you're less likely to reapply. So we jeopardize the process. Secondly, let's just fire him, and all those department people in the back of the room. Let's just fire them all because we know better. They have backgrounds in these things. Again, there was hearings, there were presentations. We're getting ready to hear a waste services proposal. I'll propose right now, staff do no vetting. Let us have dastardly long city council meetings as we hear from each organization, all 20 of them with 20-minute presentations, which is what staff has done to get to this point now. Let's just have at it. We have rules and guidelines that are important. If the city is gonna operate efficiently, we need to stick to those rules and guidelines unless there's some sort of egregious reason not to. I didn't see anything egregious tonight. I don't wanna have to sit through presentations by garbage companies or by insurance companies, because when you start talking about the numbers and the actuarials and all that stuff, it goes over my simple head. I would really just, we voted it down tonight. I'm very disappointed in that. But letting it for another bid is only going to have us come back with a lessened pot because other organizations are likely not to put back in.
Thank you very much, Councilman
Let me-
Galvin. Understand that we are here to vote yes or no, and the code stated clearly we are the final to make decisions here. That's when it's not staff. Staff, you have a committee, The director did his job, right? Put together a committee. The committee make recommendations. The city manager approved the recommendation, and the code allow us to do 3 things, and that's what we just did.
But now what's going to happen, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you
There's-
talk about becoming predisposed against an organization.
What organization? How many
I'm
times we
not gonna
vote
name-
for or against
Right.
an
I'm
organization?
not going to name the other 2 organizations who took time to meet with me this week and what I feel altered this process. Those 2 organizations have lost my support going forward. So if you guys put in, recognize I'll be voting no if and when. Please don't call me anymore. Let it be. I don't like the fact that you've now upended the processes of this city. You'll walk out of here tonight with or without a contract. You'll get a contract with 2 or 3 weeks from now. I have to be here every night in and out to deal with the repercussions of us throwing our procedures out the window.
Councilman.
Wait.
No, Mr.
No, we're
Mayor.
gonna. I'm
No,
gonna,
no, Mr. Mayor,
wait,
I have
I'm
to
gonna let you
clarify
talk.
something.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
clarify it. We're gonna do that. This is our job to approve or reject any proposal. We're not favoring any companies. There is a proposal on the table. We decided we wanna rebid it again. Last year, because we put the RFP out, we were able to save $100,000. And this year, we were able to save another $50,000. We try to save money.
So all people
That's
have to do
that's
is-
why that's why we
that-
are here. We
they-
cannot say you say that for one company. You can approve it. You can reject whatever you want. This is our job.
Right. But
Don't
here's-
tell
here's-
me because I reject that is because I hate this company. It doesn't
No,
work
no,
like
I'm
that,
not saying you
Councilman
hate them.
Galvin.
I'm not saying that you hate them.
That's
I'm
a
just
part
saying-
of the process. They understand
don't-
that. They've been serving multiple cities before.
20 years, every second and fourth Tuesday night, including CRA meetings and budget hearings, I have had my butt in this seat. I wish I could just wave the magic, rub the magic ball or something. I could tell you how it's going to, I know how this is going to turn out. And you're going to hear me say this a lot. This does not help the city in this process. It does not help the city in the waste process. If you don't think these 2 other companies lobbied us in the last 10 days, and by the way, I did take 2 meetings with 2 organizations yesterday. I'll leave their name off the record for right now unless the attorney thinks I should mention them.
No,
They,
no.
they were,
But yeah,
they
but
were
Can I-
Gallon and Foundation Risk. If you lose out in the process and all you have to do is lobby some council members to get back into the game, then why do we even bother? When we have the waste contracts, I'm going to fight hard. We are going to hear from every
First of all,
dang company, 20-minute presentations each at the city
No, no,
council.
no, Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
gonna
Okay, please, because Councilman Galvin, you made
yeah,
2.
but
Mr. Mayor, no,
yeah,
you
but
made.
it's my
but
turn. You're gonna
I
talk.
understand that, but
You're
he
gonna
made
have
an
hour.
accusation
Oh.
which I don't know. I haven't met with anyone, so your assertion regarding some stuff we need to clarify because my
If you didn't meet, did you take a phone call?
yes, I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we
I
go.
did.
Thank you.
But Councilman Galvin,
That's the point
excuse
I'm
me.
making.
No,
They
no,
lobbied.
Councilman Galvin, no, sir. With all due respect, let me. I state what I state, and I said I reviewed. I gave my reason. Now, I think we are here to respect one another. Now, you may like my reason or don't like my reason, because I was in the process of directing the city manager in a way that I think would be fair. But for you to assert that for one point for the other, I don't really like that so much. So, but I understand it's politics. However, Mr. Manager, moving forward, I stated to you, and I stated to one of the company, one of my reasons. The same reason that we were here the last time, that's the same reason that I felt. I didn't want to bring any names, or I didn't want to bring any staff. That's your decision. I reviewed all of the records. I made my decision based on how I feel I needed to make it, but I didn't, I'm just speaking for me. I don't know that statement you made.
Because
really
I understand,
poor.
Councilman Desmond, but you don't have explanation to give. You
No, but I do,
decided
Council, Mr. Mayor.
last year were the same thing. We were 5 and we decided to give them an extension and put a bid out, and now we feel like the city can save more money. Did we talk to lobbyists? Yes, of course. Lobby is gonna talk to us, and I think Saposnik talked to us, talked to me in multiple occasions. That's when we decided to put it out again and try to see if we can save more money. I don't think there's any issue, and don't scare us by just, they've been there for 17 years. We wanna see if we can save more money. We voted the same way. Sometimes you vote
Then let
yes
me
or
make-
you vote no.
Let me make this request.
Did you?
Don't ask staff to do any
That's not
And
what the code said.
but we.
That's not
we-
what the
Right.
code said.
We just have decided that we know more than staff, because we threw
That's
out the
not what it
recommendations.
is.
No, that's what it is. We
Okay.
just decided we're not gonna
Why
listen
did
to
they
them.
bring it to before us to vote yes or no?
Correct, and we
Exactly.
have every right to vote no. I'm not arguing that
Okay.
point, I know what the rules are. But by voting no, we have said to the staff, we know more than you do, because we're gonna see if we
But
can
you
get
do
more money.
you do you do that in multiple occasions.
And that's, and
How many recommendations that staff went before you and you reject that? You do that every day, every
No, I
night.
don't do that every day. I don't
Or
do it every
every
night.
night you throw it in
I
the
can't- yeah,
garbage.
no,
so
that-
Okay,
I,
we-
I,
That's
I
not-
would also
that's-
like to state on the record.
Wait. Okay. Thank you. And did we vote on it? And to recall it and put, can you vote on it? The motion?
We did already.
We did. That's why we're having the discussion, because we voted on it.
We voted and we rejected completely.
You haven't voted on the second motion that you.
Now we have a second motion. Yes. Oh,
I don't
okay, you second it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What was the motion?
The motion was to recall.
We issue, yeah.
Were you
To
saying?
re-
No,
Yeah.
I thought that
a
was the
recap
second
of
motion. Mr.
There's a
Chair.
second
The
motion.
the second motion, as I heard it, was to reject all bids and reissue the
Yes.
solicitation.
Yes,
Yes, that's the second.
that's the second motion.
I will withdraw my second to that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion made by Mayor Bien-Aimé to reject the bids and reissue a new bid, seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. We'll do a roll call vote, okay?
Discussion.
That
If-
was the discussion.
That
Okay.
was the,
No,
because
you-
I do
you
have a
more
question.
questions. Yeah.
Because
yeah,
they
go
didn't
ahead.
really let me
No,
finish
it's your
my,
turn.
my particular
Sorry,
point
sorry,
because of
Alex. Sorry,
the
sorry.
stuff that was coming from all sides. Mr. Manager, all seriousness, I don't know whatever that they going on, whatever that's happening. I don't have any problem with one particular company or not. My recommendation is that we do this because I think, and this is in my mind, yes, we hire the best, we hire folks who are here to do that, but they are not the city council. So people need, just like I do what I need to do, and I read every item and ask for different things. I vote on some things and I vote not. That's a personal choice that the folks elect us to do, and you could vote which way. And I don't think any member should be questioned whichever way that they do. However, moving forward with that process, and I wish I had knew with that process that we don't allow if staff to really be in this process. And I don't know how that is possible, if that is possible, because that's part of my concern is that, and a resident had to put that into my attention, the same issue that we had the last time. It's not as vague as it is in this one, but to me, those are my concern. How do we do that where it's a fair process? I'm not saying that for, what do you mean you, oh, well, you like,
I was gonna offer.
yes, please.
So you and I talked about, I did add outside members.
Mm-hmm.
I can add additional outside members to it, or use staff that are not directly impacted.
Impacted.
But I do need to
Yep.
use that staff as technical advisor on the item.
Just make the presentation
Okay.
straight to us.
Okay.
No.
Screw the staff committee, excuse my French. Let's hear it. Come one, come all. We know better than you do.
Okay,
Jesus, no.
can you please, thank you very much. And then, and I think staff, they done their job because if we follow our code, the code instruct the director of purchasing what to do, put together a committee, make recommendations. They did what they were supposed to do. The city manager did what he was supposed to do, and bring it before us for us to decide what we want to do. Everybody have to take responsibility for the vote. You vote yes, it's yes. You vote no, it's no. We cannot blame staff for. This is our responsibility to vote. Whether staff did something, but at the end of the day, we vote yes or no for the item.
Mr. Mayor, that's where we differ because my opposition is based on staff just like the last time, but you saying that they did.
No, what-
Well, I'm just letting you know, so we are on different terms on that, so that's why I wanted to be very clear on that. I do not, I think the process will be fair if staff does, and the manager, I don't know what's the remedy or how we do that, where it's, you know,
Why, the code give the
I-
director authorization to put
I
together the
understand.
committee.
I
That's what it
understand.
is. We cannot
No.
change that. Only the
No,
code can change
well,
that.
Well, listen, Mr., you know my concern. So how do you deal with my concern? Because my concern and the mayor concern are two different concerns, and I think it's clear.
Again, what I'll do is I'll add more outside members and only use the staff that deal with the contract on a day-to-day basis as technical support, so they won't be a voting member of the
Okay,
committee.
I will be okay.
You're gonna recommend the purchasing director to do so.
I will instruct him
Because
to-
based on the code, he put together the
Well,
committee.
Whoever,
I
The
instruct him-
director, yeah.
whoever he.
Because that's what the
Direct.
code, not whoever, the code stated clearly when it comes to procurement what needs to be done. It's not just he can decide, tell him. The procurement, the purchasing director decide to put a committee
No, but
together.
I have-
If
I
we
have-
wanna change that,
No, I have the authority in the procurement code to
Yeah.
tell
to do,
them how
okay,
how
okay,
put
to oversee that,
committee.
okay. Mhm. Thank you very much.
Are you ready for vote? Mayor Bienemay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
No.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Desame, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
The motion passes with a 3-2 vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. When are you going, you're gonna do that as quick as?
We'll be working tomorrow, sir. 'Cause
Okay.
We have some timelines that are.
All we want is save money to the city, whether it's premium or commissions. If we can get something better, the company is not important to us. It's how much money can we save, because right now I'm paying almost $1,200 on premium. This is how much. If I can save something, it would be good for me, because up here I'm the one that paying the most, $1,200 a month. Councilman Galvin is paying $10. That's mean I want to save some money. The company is not important to me. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Tab G, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the selection of Risk Management Associates, Inc., doing business as Public Risk Insurance Advisors, and Brown & Brown of Florida, Inc., for the provision of insurance coverage as required by law and in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in request for proposal number 57-18-19, brokerage firm for public officials / employment practice liability, police liability, and excess workers' compensation services. Further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to execute agreements with the selected vendors, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
One more time, for the record. Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you under tab G represents the results of another evaluation committee review and recommendation to this council of the two highest ranked firms to provide brokerage and consulting services for the city's insurance programs in response to solicitation RFP number 57-1819. As reflected in your report, this solicitation was issued by the Purchasing Department seeking proposals from qualified and experienced firms to provide brokerage and consulting services for the city's insurance programs, which include public officials and employment practices liability, police professional liability, and excess workers' compensation insurance. In response to the solicitation, the city received 4 proposals that were subsequently forwarded to the evaluation committee for their review and recommendation. Based on the committee's review of the qualifications and experience of each of the applicants, the following 2 firms were recommended by the committee: Public Risk Insurance Agency and Brown & Brown of Florida, Incorporated. The final scores and ranking for each firm, as well as the tabulation of each committee member's score for each applicant, is included in your council report package. The top-ranked firm, Public Risk Insurance Agency, has been selected to perform public official and employment practice liability, and police liability insurance services for the city. The second-ranked firm, Brown & Brown of Florida, has been selected to provide excess workers' compensation services for the city. The term of this contract shall be for an initial one-year period with 4 additional one-year options to renew. With me in support of this item is the Risk Management Director, Ms. Karen Muir, who is primarily responsible for the administration of this contract. Also present in the audience are representatives of the 2 recommended firms. This concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Tab G. Public hearing is open on the item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. I think you should reject this one also. It was done by a city staff. Maybe we don't like the makeup of the review board. So let's throw it out and see if the next RFP will produce better quotes where you can save a lot more money and have more people participate in this whole RFP process all over again. And again, add different people to the RFP review committee and start all over again. Thank you very much.
Public hearing is open on the item.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. I don't think it's appropriate to make light of this issue. An $8 million budget deficit is nothing to laugh at. There's going to be the need for many changes in order to correct the errors that have persisted if they're going to be corrected. And that's a fact. As a resident of North Miami, and I think others who support, we want to see our city better and healthy. And it's going to take change. And we stand on the side of change. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move that we reject the processes put forward by staff and that we re-advertise the bid.
Second, for discussion.
Second for discussion, go ahead.
I actually agree, Mr. Mayor Burns, with this because, and I've been talking about this forever, these piggybacks. Mr. Estrada, I have one question for you. This is, so what is this?
It's an
A
RFP.
bid, so
It's
where
just like
is
the last
the,
one.
no,
Staff.
because I don't have the actual, the entire thing that I had from the last one. This is not, okay, the Florida Sheriff Association.
I'll withdraw my
No, this
motion
is,
to reject and ask that we continue this to the next
No,
council
hold on,
meeting.
I'm trying to, okay,
This
yes,
is
sir.
tab G, Council.
I'm withdrawing my motion to reject.
He withdraw his motion. And do you want to bring a motion for discussion?
I'm on tab
No,
H.
there's no,
Can we
okay.
just have discussion?
No, you
Wait,
can
wait,
talk.
wait, wait, wait,
Yeah.
no, wait.
Wait.
Okay, my question for you, Mr. Estrada. Why was this one the first applicant and the second, now I see this one, with the first applicant and the second applicant were selected?
Well,
No,
I'll
I'm
have to
looking at
defer to the Risk Management Director, but it is the recommendation of the committee. What we're simply presenting before you is what the committee recommended, and I think that's what traditionally has been done for these contracts, but Ms. Karen.
Okay,
Yes, I'm Karen Muir, Risk Management Director. And yes, the committee did recommend the first and the second most responsible, the ones that were highest rated as the recipient of this one, this bid, because they both did so well, and they have both been servicing the needs of the city over the period of the last 10, 12 years. We've not had a problem with them. They came out on top. The committee consisted of primarily outside people, so I think the process was fair. And so, since they were both the top contenders, we just decided that it would be in the best interest to continue the relationship.
Interesting. Okay.
You done?
Some concern. Looking at this, my only concern with this was the fact that it's two versus the one, and I didn't see, I guess it's all lit towards the committee. I'm not really too
May
pleased
I
with those.
also
Yes,
add
yes,
that
ma'am.
typically what we would do is we just go out to bid for coverage, but this year we decided to bid for brokerage service
Versus the coverage.
versus just going for different lines of coverage. And so, like I said, they both came out on top. And the advantage with having the two brokers is that they also provide consultation services to the city as well. So if I needed, like, you know, to consult with an insurance broker, since I'm not actively selling insurance and so forth, they're more versed than I am. They're both there. If I can't avail myself of one, there's another one there. So I think it serves the city's purpose very well in that regard as well.
I'm done.
Question?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, a couple questions through the mayor, Ms. Muir. So this is a broker. You mentioned we could do this ourselves. What is it costing us to have a broker? Because a broker obviously gets paid. Could we save money if we did it ourselves? Have we ever done it ourselves?
It's coverage that they are securing for us, so I'm not sure how to answer your question. They are going out to the market to actually procure these services
That's
for
not
us.
something we could do and save money?
I'm not licensed to do that. You know,
Okay.
we
Okay.
usually go
Good.
through brokers. That's why we have them.
So my second question is, we had the recommendations, and you're saying that Public Risk Insurance and Brown we currently use?
Yes, Brown & Brown of Daytona, PRIA, the Public Risk Insurance Associates, they are the ones who are presently carrying our the public officials liability and employment practices, as well as the police liability. And Brown & Brown of Florida in Homestead, they are currently carrying our workers' compensation and have been for both of them for the past over 10 years.
Okay, so workman's comp isn't really something you shop for. Isn't that a state? I mean,
It's a coverage. We have excess workers' comp. The city self-insures the first 500,000 of workers' comp, so we manage that internally, but we have the excess for catastrophic losses, and that is something that is very, very necessary.
so Garing Group was only 1 point behind.
Yes, that's mine.
It was
They were
close.
all good companies, I must add.
So the only thing I'm going to say is, I think we should go ahead and vote on this. This is a different type of policy. That this is money. This is a premium. We're not really going for services. We're not getting programs for our employees. It's just a cost of an insurance premium, which is a difference of the previous one. So,
Can I
correct?
your motion on it?
Yeah, I'd motion to.
You do have
I'd
question?
motion to approve.
I'll
Wait.
second.
Okay.
My only hesitant with this is the fact that the committee just decided to split it. I don't like that fact because, you know, well, let me say.
I'm not.
Oh,
I hear
okay.
what you're saying. I wasn't-
Because
not
if
there.
you look at the Brown & Brown of Florida and the Genring Group, it's 1 point behind. So I don't know what do we save if we do that? Why not one company versus you know, if I had seen consistency, I guess those are two different animal we dealing with this, but that's my concern.
But she said, from what we understand, they are serving the city right now.
No, I know
Both.
Brown & Brown
Yeah,
is
we have a
is both of-
relationship with.
Yeah,
Both.
and
Brown.
why
Both.
is that? Because
One has one segment of coverage, the other has the other.
so the other one doesn't do the so I understand that. So when we put out the RFQ, we put it out seeking for both or for one.
It was 3 lines of coverage. We were looking for a broker to manage, to market rather, these
All
3 lines
three.
of coverage.
Can any of these do all three? That's my question would be.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then that would be my concern. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
So I have a motion to approve the two.
It's second already.
Is it? Did
Ye-
you second
She
it?
just have a question.
No, I don't have a
Councilman
question.
Desiree second it
For-
already.
for discussion.
No question.
You have no question?